The proposed environmental regulation, Steve, is, and it's in the public comment stage, is one that would require all new coal-burning power plants built in the U.S. to be outfitted with what's called carbon capture and storage, CCS technology. A recent hearing, the cost of that was explored.
All of these carbon capture sequestration technologies add cost to these coal plants. Could y'all give the committee or the subcommittee a kind of a baseline estimate of how much it adds to the cost?
Typically, we express these costs as a range. So for the first generation technology that Dr. Clara was mentioning earlier, we're looking at something on the order of $70 to $90 a ton. In that context, that looks something like a 70 or 80% increase on the wholesale price of electricity.
70 to 80% increase in the wholesale price of electricity.
Well, nobody should be surprised that the costs will go up. I mean, whatever the president has done when he's talked about his environmental policies, when he's promulgated these regulations, there will be costs. That's a feature, that's not a bug. I mean, this is something that's a natural result of the kind of things the president's proposing. And in particular, with this particular carbon capture and storage proposal, what he's in effect said is, we are going to mandate that new coal plants have to start up with this technology. If you don't, you can't do it. Well, this technology is nowhere in existence, and the fight that we're having now or we're going to have in the future in a more intense way, is whether this is actually viable. Is this something that can be actually demonstrated as commercially viable? Is this something that can be done? And the argument that you're getting from industry is absolutely not. This cannot possibly be done. It's not scalable. It's not practical. It's nowhere in existence. And you've seen the EPA take several shortcuts, including a disagreement with its own science advisory board about whether this can be done, because, as Charles says, this is a religion. They're making, in effect, a religious argument about this.
But that's the question, is that all the talk is about flat earth society and the science. It's not about prescriptive solutions to how to deal with the problem, right?
And that's because all the so-called prescriptive solutions that are in the U.S. are totally useless, and everyone knows that. You could shut off the United States tomorrow. You could shut down the entire coal industry tomorrow. It would make no difference. India and China, between them, are opening a coal-fired plant every week. Every week. So it makes no difference what America does. I would say there's actually a good reason that carries in Indonesia. I support that. Indonesia is the third biggest carbon emitter in the country, in the world, after China and the U.S. If you get a world to pack on this, I would support it.
I'm asking politics questions, but can he fire up the base enough and not make moderates in the Democratic Party mad enough to skate by in the midterms?
That's really the question, Brett, because they think that coal is already leased too cheaply. They think Keystone Pipeline should be blocked. They think that more lands and water should be protected by the federal government. They want more fuel efficiency. The list is so long. He has so disappointed environmentalists that I don't know how he makes them happy by November, the first week of November, and turns them out at the polls.
Because saying no to Keystone, if that makes them happy, it makes Mary Landrieu in Louisiana very sad.
And labor doesn't turn out.
And it makes Mark Begich in Alaska very sad.
It splits the left no matter what. Remember, as a senator, John Kerry voted against Keystone. He's argued about it. I mean, this argument that he made the other day is not a new argument for him. You know, one of the interesting questions when you mentioned the Gallup poll, and this isn't an issue that seems to resonate very broadly anyway, is why Democrats would do it. Is it just a distraction? Is it just to get out the base? There's another, I think, argument here, and that is that moderate women, independent women voters, suburban moms that everybody talked about in 2012, are also more inclined to be persuaded by arguments about the environment, something that Republican pollsters have talked about for a long time. So it may be that they're seeing this as a way to rally some of our base and also to get those moderate Republican or independent women.
Killing coal is not going to help Democrats in Kentucky. So this is a losing proposition for the country and Democrats.